The space station Celestial Haven floated quietly in the dark void above the gas giant Kepler 402b. Its massive rings spun slowly, creating artificial gravity for the thousands of beings living and working inside. Today was different from any other day in the station's long history. Representatives from across the galaxy had come together for the first Galactic Council meeting in over 50 years. Area Moonwhisper stood near the large viewing window in the main conference hall. Her pointed ears twitched slightly as she watched. Ships from different worlds dock at the station. As an elf from the Sylvan Collective, she had lived for over 300 years, but she had never seen so many different species in one place. Her silver hair caught the light from the nearby star as she turned to observe the other delegates. The conference hall buzzed with quiet conversation in dozens of languages. Universal translators made it possible for everyone to understand each other, but Arya preferred to listen to the natural sounds of different voices. Some beings clicked and chirped, others made deep rumbling sounds, and a few communicated through color changes on their skin. Zara Veltar approached the window where Arya stood. The reptilian scientist from the Draknari Empire moved with careful steps, her scaled green skin reflecting the starlight. Her large yellow eyes studied the ships outside with scientific interest. Zara had spent most of her life studying different technologies, and she was curious about the vessels she saw. "The human ship is smaller than I expected," Zara said in her careful, measured voice. Her forked tongue flicked out briefly as she spoke, a habit when she was thinking. Arya followed her gaze to see a sleek gray vessel docked near the outer ring. The ship looked simple compared to the elaborate designs of other species. Where the elven ships had flowing curves that seemed to grow like living trees, and the Draknari vessels bristled with visible weapon systems, the human ship appeared almost plain. "Humans are still new to space travel," Arya replied. "They only achieved faster-than-light flight 20 years ago. Most species take centuries to develop such technology. Yet they requested to join this council meeting," Zara pointed out. "That shows either great confidence or great foolishness." Captain Kate Sullivan, the human diplomatic liaison, walked toward them with measured steps. She wore a dark blue uniform, with simple insignia. Her brown hair was pulled back neatly, and her green eyes held a calm but alert expression. Kate had volunteered for this mission, knowing that many species viewed humans with suspicion. "Ambassador Moonwhisper, scientist, Veltar," Kate said with a polite nod to each of them. "I hope you're finding the station accommodating." "Your species builds impressive structures for being so young," Arya said diplomatically. "This station shows remarkable engineering." Kate smiled slightly. "Actually, Celestial Haven was built by the Centauri Coalition 200 years ago. We're just hosting this meeting here because it's in neutral space." Zara's eyes showed interest. "I have studied human development patterns. Your species advances very quickly compared to galactic standards. Most civilizations take 800 to 1,000 years to progress from first flight to interstellar travel. Humans did it in less than 70 years. We had good teachers," Kate said simply. "When we first detected radio signals from other worlds, we knew we weren't alone. That knowledge pushed us to reach for the stars faster than we might have otherwise." Admiral Beth Parker's voice echoed through the station's communication system, calling all delegates to take their seats for the formal meeting. The three women walked together toward the circular arrangement of seats in the center of the hall. Each delegation had been assigned a section based on their species' needs for atmosphere, gravity, and seating preferences. The meeting began with formal greetings from each delegation. The Sylvan Collective spoke of harmony and natural balance. The Draknari Empire emphasized strength and honor. The insectoid hive worlds discussed unity and collective wisdom. Smaller civilizations shared their hopes for peaceful cooperation and trade. When Kate stood to address the council, the hall became noticeably quieter. Many delegates leaned forward with curiosity, while others sat back with obvious skepticism. "Honored delegates," Kate began. "Humanity comes to this council not seeking dominance or special treatment, but offering friendship and cooperation. We know we are young compared to your ancient civilizations. We know we have much to learn. But we also believe we have something to contribute to the galactic community. An elderly delegate from the Aquatic Confederation made a bubbling sound that the translator rendered as a question. What could such a young species possibly offer to civilizations that have existed since before your star was born? Kate paused, thoughtfully before answering. Fresh perspectives, perhaps, different ways of solving old problems, and a willingness to stand with our friends when they need help. Arya found herself impressed by the human's calm response to what had been clearly intended as an insult. Many younger species would have reacted with anger or defensive statements. Kate simply acknowledged their youth while suggesting it might be a strength rather than a weakness. Zara was studying Kate with her scientist's eye, noting how the human carried herself with quiet confidence despite being surrounded by beings who could crush her physically or whose civilizations could erase humanity from the galaxy with ease. The formal presentations continued for several hours. Trade agreements were discussed, territorial boundaries were reviewed, and scientific cooperation was planned. The humans mostly listened, occasionally asking questions that showed they had done their research about galactic politics and history. Just as Admiral Parker was about to call for a recess, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors, and the station's defense grid activated automatically. Emergency protocols engaged as blast shields began closing over the large windows. The Admiral's voice cut through the noise with practiced calm. All delegates remain seated. This is not a drill. Unknown vessels have just dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. They are not responding to communications and are moving toward the station at high speed. Arya felt her pointed ears flatten against her head, an involuntary response to danger that her people had developed over millennia. Beside her, Zara's scales shifted to a darker color, and her claws extended slightly from her fingertips. Kate was already speaking into her communication device, her voice urgent but controlled. UES Thunderbolt, this is Captain Sullivan. Request immediate status report on approaching vessels. The reply came back filled with static. Captain, we're reading 12 ships of unknown configuration. Their energy signatures don't match any known civilization in our databases. They're armed and appear to be targeting the station. The Galactic Council meeting had suddenly become something much more dangerous than anyone had expected. The unknown ships moved through space like dark shadows against the stars. Admiral Beth Parker stood in the station's command center, watching the tactical display with growing concern. The 12 vessels approaching Celestial Haven were unlike anything in the galactic databases. Their hulls seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, making them difficult to track even with advanced sensors. Dr. Maya Rodriguez hurried through the corridors toward the medical bay, her emergency kit bouncing against her hip. As the station's chief medical officer, she knew that whatever was about to happen would likely result in casualties. She had treated injuries from dozens of different species during her time on Celestial Haven, but something about this situation felt different and more dangerous. In the conference hall, panic was beginning to spread among the delegates. Some species were naturally aggressive and wanted to fight, while others preferred to flee or hide. The insectoid delegate Kessara Nethys made rapid clicking sounds as she communicated with her hive ship, trying to coordinate with her people's defensive capabilities. Arya closed her eyes and extended her telepathic senses, something elves rarely did in the presence of other species. Most beings found mental contact uncomfortable or invasive, but in an emergency, her abilities could save lives. She could sense fear, confusion, and determination radiating from the various delegates around her. I can feel their emotions, Arya said quietly to Zara and Kate. The crew of those approaching ships, their minds are filled with hatred and hunger. They want to destroy everything here. Zara's scientific mind immediately began analyzing this information. Telepathic species are rare, and even fewer can read emotions across such distances. If you can sense their intentions, they must be broadcasting very strong feelings. Kate was listening to reports from her ship through her communication device. Her face grew more serious with each update. The Thunderbolt is moving to intercept, but we're heavily outnumbered. Captain Martinez is requesting assistance from other vessels in the area. Admiral Parker's voice echoed through the station again. All ships capable of combat operations, this is Celestial Haven Control. We are under attack by hostile forces. Any assistance would be greatly appreciated. The response was not encouraging. Most of the ships docked at the station were diplomatic vessels or cargo haulers with minimal weapons. The few military ships present belonged to species that had not fought a real battle in hundreds of years. Their crews were trained more for ceremony and patrols than actual combat. The Draknari battlecruiser Serpent's Fang was the most heavily armed vessel present besides the human ship. Its captain, a scarred veteran named Korax, sent a message to the station. "We will fight alongside the humans, but our weapons are designed for honorable combat between warriors, not against these shadow ships." Arya watched through the station's external cameras as the unknown vessels continued their approach. They moved in perfect formation, their dark hulls making them look like holes cut out of space itself. No lights were visible on their surfaces, and they made no attempt to communicate or respond to hails. "They're called Void Reapers," came a voice from behind them. An ancient delegate from the Archive Worlds, a species that kept records going back millions of years, had approached their group. His crystalline body pulsed with faint light as he spoke. "We have legends about them, stories so old they were considered myths. They disappeared from known space over 10,000 years ago." Zara's eyes widened with scientific excitement despite the danger. "Legends speak of a militant faction that rejected all forms of cooperation or diplomacy. They believed only in conquest and destruction, but surely that's just mythology." "Not mythology," the archive delegate said grimly. "Historical fact. They were driven from the galaxy by a coalition of every major civilization working together. It took 300 years and cost billions of lives. We thought they were extinct." The first Void Reaper ship opened fire on the station's outer defenses. The weapon was unlike anything the defenders had seen before. Instead of energy beams or projectiles, it fired what looked like streams of pure darkness. Where the dark energy touched the station's shields, the protective barriers simply ceased to exist, as if they had been erased from reality. Emergency alarms blared louder as sections of the station lost power. The Void Reapers were not trying to disable or capture Celestial Haven. They were trying to destroy it completely, along with everyone inside. Dr. Rodriguez activated the emergency medical protocols as the first wave of casualties began arriving at the medical bay. Beings who had been near the shield generators when they failed showed signs of cellular damage unlike anything she had studied in medical school. Their bodies were breaking down at the molecular level. Kate received another update from her ship. "Captain Sullivan, this is Commander Lisa Martinez aboard the Thunderbolt. We're engaging the enemy now, but their weapons are unlike anything we've encountered. Our shields are holding, but I'm not sure for how long." Through the viewing ports that hadn't been sealed by blast shields, Arya could see the human warship moving toward the Void Reaper formation. The UES Thunderbolt was smaller than most of the attacking vessels, and it was facing overwhelming odds. 12 against 1 seemed like certain death. "Your ship is brave but foolish," Zara said to Kate. "Those weapons appear to disintegrate matter at the quantum level. No known shielding can withstand that kind of attack for long." Kate's expression remained calm despite the dire situation. "Lisa Martinez is one of our best captains. If anyone can find a way to fight these things, it's her." The Draknari battlecruiser moved to support the human ship, its massive guns firing conventional energy weapons at the Void Reapers. The beams struck the dark hulls, but seemed to have no effect, as if the ships were absorbing the energy rather than being damaged by it. Arya felt a sudden spike of pain through her telepathic connection. "Something's wrong. I can sense the crew of that Draknari ship. They're in agony." On the tactical display, they watched in horror as the Serpent's Fang began to dissolve. The Void Reaper's dark energy was eating away at the ship's hull, causing it to fall apart piece by piece. The crew was evacuating in escape pods, but many wouldn't make it out in time. "This is impossible," Zara whispered, her scientific understanding of the universe shaken by what she was witnessing. "Matter cannot simply cease to exist like that. It violates fundamental laws of physics." The archive delegate's crystalline form pulsed with darker light. The Void Reapers mastered technologies that other species deemed too dangerous to develop. They learned to manipulate the fabric of reality itself, to unmake things at the most basic level. Kate was receiving constant updates from the Thunderbolt, and her expression grew more determined with each report. "Lisa says they're adapting their tactics. Human ships are built differently than most galactic vessels. We might have capabilities these Reapers haven't encountered before." Admiral Parker's voice cut through the chaos with an urgent announcement. All personnel to emergency stations. The station's main reactor is failing. We're beginning evacuation. Procedures for non-essential personnel. Arya made a decision that surprised even herself. I'm going to help coordinate the evacuation. My telepathic abilities can help people stay calm and move efficiently. Zara nodded firmly. I'll analyze the enemy weapon signatures. Perhaps there's some way to counter their technology. Kate looked at both of them with respect. Thank you. Humanity won't forget this. As if responding to her words, the UES Thunderbolt suddenly changed its attack pattern. Instead of trying to match the Void Reapers in a direct confrontation, the human ship began moving in ways that seemed impossible for a vessel of its size. It twisted and spun through space like a fighter craft, rather than a capital ship, avoiding the streams of dark energy while returning fire with weapons that glowed with blue-white light. For the first time since the attack began, one of the Void Reaper ships showed damage. The human weapons seemed to cause actual harm to the previously invulnerable attackers. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had been hiding its true capabilities. The UES Thunderbolt moved through space like a living thing, bending and twisting in ways that defied everything the galaxy knew about ship design. Commander Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge, her hands gripping the captain's chair as her ship performed maneuvers that should have torn it apart. The artificial gravity systems worked overtime to keep the crew stable as the vessel spun and rolled between streams of dark energy. Chief Engineer Amy Thompson's voice came through the communication system from deep within the ship. Captain, the quantum stabilizers are holding, but we're pushing them beyond safe limits. The ship's frame is handling stresses it was never designed for. Keep pushing, Amy, Lisa replied calmly. These Void Reapers haven't seen anything like us before. Let's show them what human engineering can really do. Lieutenant Grace Chen worked at the weapons console with steady concentration. Her fingers moved across controls that adjusted targeting systems in real time, compensating for the ship's impossible movements. The Thunderbolt's main guns fired bursts of coherent energy that seemed to punch holes in the dark hulls of the enemy ships. Target acquired, Grace announced. The lead Reaper ship has lost hull integrity on its port side. Whatever their armor is made of, our quantum disruptors are affecting it. Navigator Kelly Brooks plotted course corrections faster than most ships. Computers could calculate. Her understanding of three-dimensional space combat allowed her to predict where the enemy would be before they knew it themselves. The Thunderbolt seemed to dance between the Void Reaper formation, striking and moving before return fire could lock onto its position. On Celestial Haven, Arya watched the battle through the station's sensors with growing amazement. Her telepathic abilities let her sense the emotions of the human crew, and what she felt surprised her. Instead of fear or desperation, the humans radiated calm determination and something she could only describe as joy. They were actually enjoying this impossible fight. How are they doing that? Zara asked, her scientific mind struggling to understand what she was seeing. Their ship is performing maneuvers that should require gravity manipulation technology that won't be invented for another 1,000 years. Kate smiled grimly as she listened to updates from her ship. Humans have always been good at making the impossible look easy. We tend to find ways around problems rather than through them. The battle was far from over, but the tide was beginning to shift. Two of the Void Reaper ships had taken significant damage, and their perfect formation was breaking apart as they tried to adapt to the human ship's unpredictable movements. The remaining 10 vessels were spreading out, trying to surround the Thunderbolt and cut off its escape routes. Dr. Maya Rodriguez worked frantically in the medical bay as injured survivors from the destroyed Draknari ship were brought aboard the station. The molecular damage caused by the Void Reaper weapons was unlike anything in medical textbooks, but she found that human medical technology could stabilize the victims better than expected. This is incredible, she said to her assistant, while treating a Draknari warrior whose scales were literally dissolving. Our cellular reconstruction devices are actually reversing the quantum decay. I didn't think that was possible. Admiral Beth Parker coordinated the evacuation efforts while monitoring the space battle. The Thunderbolt was buying them time, but she knew the station couldn't survive much longer under the Void Reaper assault. Entire sections had already been evacuated as the dark energy weapons continued to eat away at the station's structure. All ships, this is Celestial Haven Control, she announced. Begin emergency departure procedures. The Thunderbolt is holding them off, but we need to get everyone to safety. Lisa Martinez heard the evacuation order and made a command decision that would change galactic history. All stations. This is the captain. Activate battle protocol. 7. Authorization Martinez Alpha 77. Amy Thompson's voice came back immediately, filled with excitement and concern. Captain, are you sure? We've never tested Protocol 7 in actual combat. The power requirements alone could overload our entire system. Do it, Amy. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity is really capable of. Deep within the Thunderbolt, systems that had remained hidden and unused suddenly came online. The ship's power output increased by 300% as fusion reactors that had been running at minimal capacity switched to full operation. Weapon systems that had been concealed within the hull deployed, and the ship's true size became apparent as armor plating shifted to reveal additional weapons and defensive systems. The change was visible to everyone watching. The simple gray vessel that had seemed small and unremarkable suddenly became something that looked like it could fight an entire fleet. Energy readings from the ship spiked so high that sensor equipment throughout the system registered overloads. Zara's jaw dropped as she watched the transformation. That ship is not what it appeared to be. The humans have been hiding their true capabilities. Arya felt the shift in emotions from the human crew as their ship revealed its full potential. The joy she had sensed earlier transformed into something fiercer and more determined. These humans were not just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting to prove that their species belonged among the stars. The Thunderbolt's new weapons fired in coordinated volleys that tore through Void Reaper shields as if they were made of paper, streams of blue energy that pulsed with controlled. Nuclear fusion struck the enemy ships, causing explosions that lit up the dark space around Kepler 442b. Grace Chen's voice carried a note of satisfaction as she reported to the captain. Direct hits on 6 targets. Their dark energy weapons are going offline across the enemy formation. Whatever those ships are made of, they can't handle sustained bombardment from fusion plasma cannons. Kelly Brooks plotted an attack pattern. That took the Thunderbolt directly through the center of the Void Reaper formation. The ship moved with mechanical precision, its weapons tracking multiple targets simultaneously while its defenses absorbed incoming fire that would have destroyed any other vessel in the galaxy. This is impossible, the ancient archive delegate whispered as he watched the battle. One ship cannot defeat an entire Void Reaper fleet. It took the combined might of 50 civilizations to drive them away before. Kate's expression was proud, but not surprised. You're thinking like most of the galaxy does. You see problems and try to find ways to work around them or avoid them. Humans see problems and find ways to go right through them. The Void Reapers were beginning to retreat. 4 of their ships had been completely destroyed, and the remaining 8 were damaged and unable to maintain their attack formation. Their dark energy weapons, which had seemed invincible just minutes earlier, were proving ineffective against the Thunderbolt's adaptive shielding. Lisa Martinez opened a communication channel to the retreating enemy ships. Unknown vessels. This is Commander Martinez of the UES Thunderbolt. You have attacked a neutral station and threatened innocent beings. Withdraw from this system immediately or face destruction. The response came not in words, but in action. The surviving Void Reaper ships fired their remaining weapons in a final desperate assault before jumping to hyperspace and fleeing the system. The streams of dark energy struck the Thunderbolt's shields and were absorbed harmlessly, the ship's defensive systems adapting to counter the exotic attack. In the sudden silence that followed, every being in the system stared at the human warship, in stunned disbelief. A single vessel had defeated an enemy that had once required the entire galaxy to overcome. The implications of what they had witnessed would reshape interstellar politics forever. Arya reached out with her telepathic abilities and sensed something that surprised her more than anything else about the battle. The human crew was not celebrating their victory with pride or arrogance. Instead, they were focused on rescue operations and helping the survivors. The aftermath of the battle left Celestial Haven scarred but standing. Emergency crews worked around the clock to repair damaged sections of the station, while rescue operations continued for survivors of the destroyed Draknari vessel. The UES Thunderbolt had docked at the station's main bay, its hull showing surprisingly little damage despite the intense fighting it had endured. Dr. Rebecca Moore arrived on the first medical transport from Earth, bringing with her advanced trauma equipment that most of the galaxy had never seen before. As she worked alongside Dr. Rodriguez in the medical bay, she demonstrated healing technologies that seemed almost magical to the other species present. Arya watched in fascination as the human doctors used devices that could rebuild damaged tissue at the cellular level. A Draknari warrior who had been dying from quantum decay was now sitting up and talking, his scales regenerating in real time. The medical technology was more advanced than anything the Sylvan Collective possessed, despite their centuries of biological research. How is this possible? Arya asked Dr. Moore as she worked on another patient. This level of medical advancement should take millennia to develop. Rebecca looked up from her work with a gentle smile. Humans have always been motivated by the desire to help others heal. When we learned we weren't alone in the universe, we realized we'd need to understand how to treat beings very different from ourselves. It pushed our medical research in directions we never would have explored otherwise. Zara was conducting her own investigation in the station's analysis labs, studying fragments of the destroyed Void Reaper ships. The debris was unlike anything in the galactic databases, composed of materials that seemed to exist partially in normal space and partially in dimensions that current science couldn't explain. Communications Officer Samantha Lee had established contact with several civilizations across the galaxy, and the news of the battle was spreading faster than light through the interstellar communication networks. The response from various governments and military organizations was a mixture of awe, gratitude, and deep concern. The Centauri Coalition wants to know if we have more ships like the Thunderbolt, Samantha reported to Captain Sullivan. The Aquatic Confederation is asking about defense treaties, and the Trade Guild is requesting immediate meetings about technology exchanges. Kate found herself in the unusual position of representing humanity to a galaxy that suddenly viewed her. Species very differently than they had just hours earlier. The small diplomatic delegation had become the focus of intense scrutiny from every major civilization. Security Chief Nicole Davis coordinated with station security to manage the crowds of delegates and observers who wanted to see the human ship up close. The Thunderbolt had become the most studied vessel in galactic history overnight, with scientists and military analysts from dozens of species requesting permission to examine its design. Lisa Martinez stood in the station's main conference hall, surrounded by representatives from civilizations that had existed for thousands of years before humanity had even discovered fire. Many of them looked at her with expressions ranging from respectful fear to desperate hope. "Commander Martinez," said the elderly delegate from the Aquatic Confederation, "your species has just demonstrated capabilities that exceed our most advanced projections. How many ships like yours does humanity possess?" Lisa considered her answer carefully, knowing that honesty would be shocking, but that lies would be discovered eventually. The Thunderbolt is actually considered outdated by current human naval standards. It's a 15-year-old design that we use primarily for diplomatic missions. The silence that followed her statement was profound. Delegates exchanged glances that spoke of civilizations, suddenly realizing they had drastically underestimated the newest member of the galactic community. Arya felt the wave of emotions that swept through the assembled beings. Fear, wonder, respect, and calculation all mixed together as species that had dominated space for millennia tried to process what they had learned about humanity. The archive delegate's crystalline form pulsed, with rapid patterns of light as he accessed historical records. If this vessel represents outdated human technology, then your species has advanced further in 20 years than most civilizations do in 2000. How is such rapid development possible? Lisa exchanged a look with Kate before answering. Humans have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. When we discovered that the galaxy was full of ancient, powerful civilizations, we knew we needed to be able to protect ourselves and our allies. We've focused our entire technological development on ensuring that humanity could stand as equals among the stars. Zara approached the group with her analysis results, her expression showing the scientific excitement of someone who had discovered something revolutionary. "Commander Martinez, I've been studying the debris from the Void Reaper ships. Your weapons appear to have disrupted their quantum coherence fields. That should be impossible with any known technology. Quantum disruptors are standard equipment on all human military vessels," Lisa replied matter-of-factly. "We developed them after our scientists theorized that energy-based life forms or exotic matter weapons might pose a threat to our ships." The implications of her casual statement sent ripples of shock through the assembled delegates. Humans had developed weapons specifically designed to counter threats that most species considered theoretical impossibilities. Dr. Michelle Foster, the xenocultural specialist who had arrived with the medical team, observed the interactions between humans and other species with professional interest. She noted how the revelation of human capabilities was changing the entire dynamic of galactic politics in real time. Admiral Carol Jensen's voice came through the station's communication system as her fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the system. Celestial Haven Control. This is Admiral Jensen commanding the 3rd Human Defense Fleet. We received reports of hostile activity and are moving to provide assistance. Through the station's viewing ports, everyone could see 12 human warships taking up defensive positions around Celestial Haven. Each vessel was larger and more advanced than the Thunderbolt, their hulls gleaming with the blue glow of active energy shields. The sight of a full human battle fleet had an immediate effect on the gathered delegates. Species that had been considering challenging humanity's new position in galactic politics quickly reconsidered their options. 12 ships, whispered the Draknari delegate who had replaced the crew lost on the Serpent's Fang. 12 ships, where one was enough to defeat the Void Reapers. Kate stepped forward to address the growing tension in the room. Admiral Jensen's fleet is here to ensure that the Void Reapers don't return while we're still conducting rescue operations. Humanity has no intention of threatening or intimidating anyone. We're here to help. Arya reached out with her telepathic abilities to sense the emotions of the human crews throughout the system. What she felt confirmed Kate's words. The humans were genuinely focused on protecting others rather than projecting power. Their advanced weapons and ships were tools for defense, not conquest. Your species fights not for glory or territory, but to protect others, Arya said, her voice carrying the authority of someone who could sense truth directly. This is unusual among the powerful civilizations of the galaxy. Lisa nodded seriously. Humans learned early in our history that our greatest strength comes from working together and protecting those who can't protect themselves. When we reached the stars, we brought that philosophy with us. The revelation that humanity possessed, not just advanced technology, but also the moral restraint to use it responsibly, began to shift the mood in the conference hall. Fear was gradually being replaced by hope, as delegates realized that a powerful ally had emerged among the stars. However, the political ramifications of the day's events were only beginning to unfold. The galaxy would never be the same after witnessing what a human warship could do. 3 weeks after the battle at Celestial Haven, the galaxy had transformed in ways that no one could have predicted. Emergency sessions of the Galactic Council convened on 17 different worlds as civilizations struggled to adapt to the new reality of human military superiority. Trade routes were being renegotiated, defense treaties were being rewritten, and every major power was attempting to establish closer ties with humanity. Ambassador Claire Watson arrived at the restored Celestial Haven aboard the diplomatic vessel UES Harmony, bringing with her the authority to negotiate on behalf of Earth's government. Her silver hair and calm demeanor reminded many delegates of the wisdom that came with age, though few realized she was barely 60 years old, in a species where that was considered young adulthood. Arya had returned to the Sylvan Collective as requested by her government, but she found herself serving as an unexpected advocate for human-elf cooperation. Her telepathic encounter with human minds during the crisis had convinced her that humanity represented something unique in galactic politics, a species that gained power but chose to use it responsibly. The Council of Elders is concerned about human military capabilities, Arya reported to Ambassador Watson during their first formal meeting. But I have told them that your people fight to protect rather than to conquer. They are willing to consider a formal alliance. Zara had accepted a position as scientific liaison between the Draknari Empire and humanity, spending her time studying human technology and trying to understand how such rapid advancement was possible. Her laboratory on Celestial Haven had become a center for interspecies scientific cooperation. Your species approaches problems differently than any civilization I have studied, Zara explained to Dr. Foster during one of their research sessions. Most cultures develop technology slowly and carefully, testing each advancement for centuries before implementation. Humans seem to embrace calculated risks that other species would never consider. Admiral Jensen's fleet had remained in the Kepler system at the request of the Galactic Council, serving as a deterrent against further Void Reaper attacks. Intelligence reports suggested that the surviving ships had retreated to the dark space between galaxies, but no one knew if they would return or in what numbers. Lisa Martinez found herself promoted to Admiral and tasked with establishing the first integrated galactic defense network. Her experience fighting the Void Reapers had made her the most qualified person in known space to coordinate defenses against their exotic weapons. The key to defeating the Reapers is adaptation, Lisa explained to a gathering of military leaders from across the galaxy. Their weapons are designed to counter conventional defenses, but they can't adapt to technologies they've never encountered before. Human quantum disruptors worked because we developed them independently of galactic science. The integration process was not without challenges. Some species struggled with the concept that such a young civilization could become a galactic superpower. The hegemony of ancient worlds formally protested humanity's rapid rise, claiming that proper galactic citizenship required at least 1,000 years of peaceful development. Ambassador Watson addressed these concerns with diplomatic skill that impressed even veteran negotiators. We understand the hesitation of elder civilizations to accept newcomers. However, the Void Reaper attack demonstrated that the galaxy faces threats that traditional diplomacy cannot address. Humanity offers not domination, but partnership in facing these challenges. The economic implications of human technology were staggering. Human medical devices could heal injuries that had been considered permanently disabling for thousands of years. Human manufacturing techniques could produce materials with properties that existing science said were impossible. Human agricultural methods could make barren worlds bloom with life. Kate Sullivan, now promoted to ambassador, worked tirelessly to ensure that these technologies were shared responsibly rather than hoarded for human advantage. Trade agreements were structured to benefit all participants, and technical knowledge was exchanged freely with species that demonstrated peaceful intentions. Our goal is not to become the rulers of the galaxy, Kate explained to the reformed Trade Consortium. We want to be good neighbors and reliable allies. Earth's resources are vast but not unlimited. We need partners, not subjects. The establishment of joint research facilities became a symbol of the new galactic order. On Celestial Haven, scientists from dozens of species worked alongside human researchers to develop defenses against exotic threats. The station had been rebuilt with human construction techniques that made it stronger and more resilient than before. Dr. Rodriguez's medical bay had become a training center where doctors from across the galaxy learned human healing techniques. The quantum cellular reconstruction devices that had saved Draknari lives during the battle were now being manufactured for use throughout known space. Arya often visited the human sections of Celestial Haven, using her telepathic abilities to help facilitate communication between species with vastly different mental processes. She discovered that humans possessed an unusual capacity for empathy that made them natural diplomats despite their fearsome military capabilities. Your people think with both logic and emotion simultaneously, Arya observed to Ambassador Watson. Most species favor one or the other, but humans seem to balance both approaches naturally. It makes you excellent mediators. The first joint military exercises between human forces and other galactic navies took place in the Vega system, carefully observed by representatives from every major civilization. The results exceeded all expectations as human tactical innovations proved compatible with traditional galactic military doctrine. Zara published a research paper that became required reading in scientific institutions across the galaxy. Human Technological Philosophy, Risk, Innovation, and the Acceleration of AI Development. Her conclusions challenged fundamental assumptions about how civilizations should approach scientific advancement. Humans do not fear failure, she wrote. They embrace it as a learning opportunity. This willingness to accept risk in pursuit of progress allows them to achieve in decades what other species accomplish in centuries. Their technology advances rapidly because they are not afraid to try impossible things. The most significant change came in the form of the Galactic Defense Initiative, a military alliance that combined human tactical innovation with the resources and experience of elder civilizations. Admiral Martinez was appointed as the first Supreme Commander, a position that would have been unthinkable for a human just months earlier. The initiative's first major test came when long-range sensors detected Void Reaper ships massing in the void between galaxies. Intelligence suggested that the survivors of the Celestial Haven battle had regrouped and were preparing for a larger assault. "They'll be ready for our quantum disruptors this time," Lisa warned the assembled fleet commanders. "But they won't. Be ready for what we've learned from our new allies." The response fleet that assembled at the Galactic Edge was unlike anything in recorded history. Human ships provided technological innovation and adaptive tactics. Elven vessels contributed, their mastery of energy manipulation and shields. Draknari warships brought overwhelming firepower and warrior discipline. Other species added their own unique capabilities to create a force that was truly galactic in scope. Arya served as the fleet's telepathic coordinator, using her abilities to facilitate instantaneous communication between ships whose crews spoke different languages and thought in fundamentally different ways. The mental link she established allowed the diverse fleet to function as a single entity. When the Void Reapers finally emerged from dark space, they encountered not the divided galaxy they remembered from their ancient exile, but a unified force that combined the best aspects of dozens of civilizations. The battle was swift and decisive, with the Reapers' exotic weapons proving ineffective against defenses that incorporated technologies they had never encountered. The victory celebration on Celestial Haven brought together beings from every corner of the galaxy. Humans mingled freely with species that had initially viewed them with suspicion or fear. Children of different worlds played together in the station's gardens, while their parents discussed plans for a future none of them could have imagined. Just months earlier, Kate stood with Arya and Zara in the observation deck, watching ships from hundreds of worlds docked at the expanded station. The sight represented more than just victory over an ancient enemy. It showed what the galaxy could accomplish when its diverse civilizations worked together. "The humans have given us something more valuable than advanced technology," Arya said, thoughtfully. "They've shown us that being different doesn't mean being divided." Zara nodded in agreement. "Your species has taught the galaxy that strength comes not from standing alone, but from lifting others up. That is a lesson worth more than any weapon." Ambassador Watson joined them at the window, her expression reflecting satisfaction with humanity's role in the galaxy's transformation. "We came to the stars hoping to find our place among ancient civilizations. Instead, we helped create something entirely new, a truly united galaxy." The future stretched ahead with endless possibilities. Joint research projects promised technological advances that would benefit all species. Exploration missions planned to map new regions of space with diverse crews working together. Trade networks connected worlds that had never directly interacted before. Most importantly, the galaxy had learned that its greatest strength lay not in the individual power of its civilizations, but in their willingness to stand together against any threat. The day they witnessed a human warship had become the day the galaxy discovered its true potential.